And so this is one thing that I was really excited to sit down and ask you about, actually. So it's obvious you sat down with a magnitude of people. You've been able to chop it up and learn a lot from them. Has there been one thing in particular that you've learned from being in the cannabis industry and this whole entire ride in this space and in this community that you feel like you've learned exclusively because of the nature of the business versus, let's say, being in a more traditional, more mainstream industry?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I would say like this industry is really fascinating because and it's very invigorating or exhilarating more so.
Mhm.
Um, because there's so much change happening. It's like, you're playing chess, but like the pieces are the board is actually being moved underneath your pieces in a certain way.
Great
And so it
analogy.
adds a whole nother dimension to your play, right? To your gameplay. And things can change quickly. You also need to, really operate on a number of different levels. And because this industry has got one foot in the illegal market or the traditional market, one foot in the legal market, you have to tap dance kind of continuously moving in between those two a little bit. Not to say like you should, I mean, honestly, dude, like the hinges have kind of been blown off the blown off the the vault door or whatever you want to say. Like there's gray market activity, and then there's the traditional, then there's black market activity, and then there's white market activity. And it's really like playing within those three realms, but also doing it in a smart way that also is setting yourself up for the future. It's complex, dude. I mean, it's really going to be so interesting to see how this all turns out in the next 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. And we're still really, and I'd say like, let's say there's 9 innings, like we're probably in inning number like four, maybe three, which for folks that have been in the industry, like they're like that hear that, they're like, what? Like one thing I'll say I'm really lucky about is I'm really happy that I'm like my age coming into this industry, because unfortunately there's a lot of folks that just that have either like left the industry or just didn't make that are burnt out because I mean, it's just like I said, I'm so lucky to be born in this time, this place, and be the age that I am. Because there's folks that I know that are like in their 40s or 50s or 60s that like, man, they would give an arm, maybe not actually, but they give an arm and a leg to be my age in this time period and have the energy that a 27-year-old would have, you know, because this is like the there's BC and there's AD, right?
Hmm.
And legalization was year number zero, right? And now we're moving for the rest of the future moving forward. It's this. So I feel bad for folks that got burnt out, that just because it's just like tiring. I mean, it's really, it does burn you out for sure. And I commend all the folks that have been in this game 30 years, or 20, whatever, how many years, and they're still going just as hard. That's true discipline, and that's really impressive. And to go back to your question though, like the amount of change that's happening is really like it's very rapid, and that's what makes this such a different industry. So things that I've learned from this industry have been, how do you always stay agile? How do you stay on your pivot? You can't pivot too quickly though, because you pivot too quickly, you don't know if it's going to work or not. Right. And that's the same thing with kind of, YouTube actually has been interesting, because YouTube's very similar in general. Like you want to try a bunch of different things, but then you want to, you need to stick with stuff long enough to know if it's going to work or not, and then pivot and keep doing that until you figure out the right formula um,
Hmm.
to be successful in whatever you're trying to do. So
Yeah, I think a lot of folks feel that way.